Hello everybody, my name is Benji and welcome back to Satisfactory. So this is going to be a little bit of a video just giving a status update and all of that good stuff on all of our accomplishments so far in the Season 4 playthrough of Satisfactory. We've got a lot to cover and I'm going to boot myself over to the next spot now. First things first, we started off the series with a wonderful little biomass factory here. We've got the 10 biomass on the one side and the 10 biomass on the other side for a wonderful 420 total megawatts of power in the circuit. My deepest apologies, it's apparently 360 because some of these aren't on. Lovely, lovely. Then we went up here to the second floor with the glass underneath, the smart splitters and everything else, turning wood and leaves into biomass, which comes over here to these storage containers for further use. Later on in the series, we came up top here and added in all of these lovely battery packs, which we recently just expanded in the most recent part, as well as adding in these lovely power switches, one corresponding to each factory that we have in the world, and a main power switch to turn everything on or everything off in its entirety, which we also added in the next series. Now we're going to head over and check out some of the factories. So we started off humble, like most people tend to do in this game, with a wonderful little itty-bitty, teeny-weeny factory making concrete. We started off making only a little bit with 2 constructors, and then recently expanded it up to 4 constructors, making a grand total of, I believe, it is 60 per minute. We're just gonna hop inside here and double check that. Looks like each one of these is 15, and there's 4 of them, so that is 60 concrete per minute. A full conveyor belt Mark 1. Heading back to the storage system. Then we came over here, keeping with our young modesty in the beginning of the series, and made ourselves a little basic iron components factory, making ourselves 20 iron rods per minute and 20 iron plates per minute, both heading straight back to the storage system. Let's move on to some of the more advanced stuff. As we are all well aware, after basic iron components comes complex iron components, starting off with the most important, arguably, of the advanced iron components, which is the reinforced iron plate factory. This bad boy is absolutely beautiful from the outside, even more beautiful from the inside, and making us a nice, crisp 20 reinforced iron plates per minute. That's going to be a running theme with this factory, because of the fact that, well, everything in this world's going to be making 20 per minute. Because that's one of the main goals of this entire playthrough, is 20 per minute of every item. We've got the lovely walkways here so that we can see over top of everything with the reinforced iron plates. Or sorry, those are on the next floor. The regular iron plates, iron rods, and iron ingots, of course, being made here. We've got the glass over top so that we can see the splitting belts in the middle. Everything is nice and wonderfully backed up as the storage is probably full. We've got the rotors peeking in here, coming from their factory off in the distance. We've got the reinforced iron plate assemblers, not manufacturers, we haven't gotten there yet, and the screws being made right over here. Everything in its wonderful glory, surrounded in glass to overlook the wonderful, beautiful landscape of the planet. Let's hop over to the rotors. Now we are over here at the lovely little rotor factory. It's more of a rectangle than the reinforced iron plates were, but it does its purpose, and it's nice and compact inside, which is something that we love to admire in this game, is the compactness of everything. We're using one of the alternate recipes involving the copper sheets in order to make 20 per minute of the rotors. So we've got the iron coming in on the left, the copper coming in on the right, and everything wonderfully belt spaghettied together into this beautiful little array. All of the iron ingots come across the bottom, split into these to make the screws. The screws go up over the top the long way around, 2 lines of them because I couldn't fit any more onto the belts, while the copper goes directly over top of the iron, underneath the screws, winding around the back here into a bunch of constructors. These constructors are all making the copper sheets that go right alongside until they end up going underneath all of the screws, splitting off with the screws into the assemblers, making the rotors. Like I said, each one of these is making 10 per minute. 2 of them together makes 20. They hop along this lovely little belt through a little modded hole in the wall and back through the reinforced iron plates over to the storage facility. Let's move on. This has got to be one of my favorite designs for a build that I have ever done in Satisfactory, having it hang off of the top and get thinner in rectangles as it goes away from the cliff's edge. This is our wonderful copper factory, which makes wire, cable, and copper sheets that all go back along that belt line right there to the storage facility. So let's get up and take a closer look. And here we have the wonderful inner workings of the copper factory with the sloped roof, the wonderful glass floor to see that we are in fact hanging, and the wonderful glass windows to see the rest of the world ahead of us. We've got the copper sheets being made over here in these 3, the copper wire being made on the right side with those 2, and the cables being made right here in the center. Everything going out and around the long way back home. All of this stemming from a singular copper node right out the back into these 4 itty-bitty smelters. With all of the basic components out of the way, I suppose it's time to start getting into some of the more advanced items. So let's go check out some of the steel, shall we? I'll see you over there. So let's start where one does, but I didn't, with modular frames, encased industrial beams, and steel pipes. Now, the reason why I didn't start here is honestly unbeknownst to me. I don't quite remember why I didn't start with this factory and instead decided to start with motors, but that just kind of is how it was. Everything that gets made here gets taken in our lovely little truck friend back to the storage system and to the base, right underneath of this beautiful archway from the stream starting soon screen with our dear friend the moth coming through. This base is one of my favorites just because of how compact everything is. So all of the iron ore for the top floors gets smelted down here at the bottom, and all of the steel gets smelted as well at the back, and immediately gets turned into steel pipes for the upper floors. So there is no ore smelting on any subsequent floor. All of it's done on the bottom, and then some as well. The steel pipes come along this line here with some of the concrete that's being taken and gets turned into encased industrial beams using the encased industrial pipe alternate recipe to make 20 per minute, which is why we have 5 assemblers. Lovely, lovely stuff. That iron ore that I was talking about comes along the side here and gets turned into screws and plates, which go into here with the help of the smart mod setting this all up, being turned into reinforced iron plates that go up to the next floor. Any excess pipes from this system get sent back to the storage. And up here at the top, any steel pipes and reinforced iron plates come along the bottom to make 20 modular frames per minute using the steel frame alternate recipe. There they go, and they're going to go straight back to the base. The same thing is happening up here where if there are ever any leftover pipes, they will come straight down along the belt and head back home. We are making some excess pipes, so we should have some pipes back at the storage system back home. And here's our lovely little sugar cube once again, coming to take us home. Hey bud, how are you doing this fine evening? One thing I forgot to mention, any excess coal from the steel refinement process comes into this to give the tractor the fuel it needs to get back home. And now that we're on our lovely little way, I will see you guys over at the Motor Factory. And welcome to yet another wonderful hanging factory. We are currently at the Motor Factory, hanging over top of the void of the world. If I fall down that pit, I just fall forever. And the factory? Well, it's hanging directly over top of the void. As it extends in that direction, the void extends beneath it. However, I didn't want to replace everything with glass, as that seems a little bit excessive. Especially under the weight of some of these machines. We don't want the glass cracking, even though that's not actually possible in this physics. We are taking caterium, copper, steel, iron, and a whole other amalgamation of items, and turning them into three things: motors, steel beams, and quick wire. Obviously, most of the steel here is just being made into steel and going up to the top. And by when the steel is being made into steel, I obviously mean the coal, and the iron ingots are being made into steel. Up here on the second floor, we've got the caterium coming up and being made into quick wire. Some of the quick wire goes back home to the base. The rest of the quick wire goes up to the next floor. We've got the wire and some of the steel. The steel coming over here and making pipes. And then the rest of the pipes going into here to make the rotors with the wire. And up on the top and final floor, we've got the steel beams with the excess steel ingots. We've got the quick wire coming in here with the steel beams to make stadors. Any excess stadors go into this, which we haven't had any issues with yet. And all of the motors get made right here with the alternate... actually no, this is the base recipe, the 2 rotors and the 2 stators being made into motors. The motors head back to the base, and whenever they overflow, they go into the resource sink to make me some money. We've got a lovely view out the back of the factory here toward the steel and everything else. And with this view in mind, I will see you guys over at our lovely space elevator factory. Welcome everyone to the cube. Even though it's more of a rectangle than a cube, it is completely and entirely made out of glass on the outside, so that you can see all of the lovely machines doing their work on the inside without having to see any of the ugly, ugly, ugly conveyor belt work that's been done on the inside. This entire factory is completely and entirely dedicated to one thing: making 20 per minute of the smart plating for the space elevator. We've got ourselves a little bit of a maintenance hatch right there, so that we can hop in and take a look at everything we need to take a look at. We've got all of our glorious 16 smelters for iron ingots over here. Some things making iron plates and the like screws over here, which go right the way up the side. Some more iron ingots going up the side as well to the next floor. Everything is being held up in the corners with these support beams and 1 or 2 extras in the center. We've got all 8 of our iron lines coming in here. And underneath, we've got a whole crap ton of belt work, combining the 8 into one line, which then gets split accordingly into all of our smelter arrays here. This whole thing was a pain to build, but it looks amazing, so it's completely worth it. We've got our smart plating, which is the final product, going straight around the back and out the side, with all of the belt work completely and entirely hidden from view. We've got ourselves a maintenance ladder to get up to the next floors, which are dedicated to making the rest of the iron items, which get turned into rotors and reinforced iron plates straight out the back with these 8 assemblers. 4 assemblers go to reinforced iron plates, the other 4 on the other side go to rotors. It's a little tricky to grab onto that ladder, but it works out in the end. And then all of those items come right up the side here and go down and split appropriately into their corresponding parts that finally make the smart plating. Any extra smart plating that gets created that is not used or the storage is backed up goes straight into this resource sink to make me some coupons. And since the entire rectangle is made out of glass, no matter where we go, we can look at an amazing view, such as the hanging space elevator, which is actually our next stop. So I'll see you guys over there in just a second. Welcome to the space elevator hanging over top of the void, directly next to our wonderful, wonderful waterfalls. We, of course, are obsessed with hanging things in this playthrough for some reason, so the space elevator is hanging directly over top of the void, walled in by these wonderful, wonderful fence posts. There's no need to use the actual belt inputs for the space elevator, so everything is just input manually by hand at this terminal. And we have a hypertube that will take us back to the base whenever we shall need it. We have one more stop to make on our journey before we wrap everything up back at the hub, and that is over at the AI Limiter Factory. So I'm just gonna pop myself over there real quick. And welcome to the AI Limiter Factory. Even with the popping and the editing back and forth between all of these different places, this video is still going to exceed 20 minutes long, which just goes to show how much work has been achieved in the lengthy 45 hours that we have been playing. Also, I lied about the whole last stop thing. We do need to go visit the power plants as well. So we've got 2 more stops to make after this, one of which is going to be the power plants, and the other of which is going to be the wrap-up at the storage facility. This is the AI Limiter Factory. We've got Caterium coming in the side here, and copper coming in from a belt a very, very lengthy distance away. You can see it way off in the distance there, 389 meters in the distance, right over top of the fog. That's all making our lovely copper sheets. The Caterium quick wire over here comes up to the top to make quick wire, like I just said, which go in with the copper sheets to make the AI limiters. 20 per minute, once again, coming straight out the back here. And whenever we are full back at the storage system, it goes into a resource sink, which makes me money. Anything that's valuable, like AI limiters, or motors, or modular frames, or encased industrial beams, or anything of that sort that has a possibility to overflow, ends up being turned into cold, hard coupons in order to buy the lovely stuff like the glass that you see on the cube, or the railings that you see on there, or the hypertube wall holes that you see there, and the ladders that you see here. They go into a whole slew of different things that just make life easier, quality of life sort of deals. So it's nice to have the coupons. Also, we recently hooked up our hypertubes in order to get us back and forth from the AI limiter factory and the space elevator. More hypertubes are going to be coming in the future, taking us to different places, like the motor factory, or the modular frame factory, or the power plants, or really anywhere that we feel the need to have a hypertube. However, currently, the hypertubes are just a temporary setup, as we don't have very many pipes coming through the system yet. We have a lovely little setup here with toggleable little switches, so that it doesn't constantly eat up our power. Isn't that something neat to learn about, right? Anyway, with this lovely unfinished building that you see before you, we are going to boot myself on over to the power plants. So I will see you guys once we're there. So we are currently a lovely distance away from our home sweet home factory, back way off in that direction, which I'll show on the map currently. But we are now at our power plants, which are making us a lovely 4,200 megawatt hours of power. We've got 4 coal lines being taken from overclocked miners up there, 2 of which come to this lovely setup, 2 of which go to the not so lovely but more functional and rugged setup on the other side. But we have a lovely amount of power. Also, I lied. Apparently it's 4,800. I didn't think 4,200 sounded right. It is 4,800 power being produced. Each of these setups has 6 water extractors to it. 3 water extractors for every, I believe it is 8 coal generators. And there are 16 total in each array, and there are 4 arrays, which results in 64 total, I believe. Let's just double check my math here. Yeah, 64 total coal generators. And since there's 6 of these for every 16, and there's 4 sets of 16, that means that there are 24 water extractors all being used for this entire project. All of the coal is perfectly split between each and every single one of the coal factories. All of the water, on the other hand, is taken as a little bit of an overflow. However, it's only an overflow to every 4 rather than an overflow altogether, mostly because the pipes only support 300 water per minute instead of the required, I don't know how much water that would be total, but it would be a lot. On this lovely setup, we have all of the pipes underneath, as well as all of the belts, which I will show you soon. All 8 of the pipes for this system come from these 12 water extractors, which are set up in quite a beautiful manner, I might say. I did a wonderful job with this, if I do say so myself, and I certainly do say so myself. All of the water comes through this little area here, and goes into everything as required. Still splitting off in groups of 4 for an overflow for the water, but all of the coal underneath is split perfectly. Which makes sense, because it probably should be split perfectly. Everything is wired out the back and covered in glass so that you can see all of the belts and everything else you could ever want, just by looking straight down into the hole. And all of the power is run on a line out the back, connecting all of them together. This one's currently not on. It's not getting enough water. Is it at the end of the system? It is not at the end of the system. So what seems to be the problem here, sir? It's not you. Is it you? No. I'm not sure what the problem was there, but it seems to have resolved itself. So, with the power production complex now completely covered, this should be the last little bit of a jump that you guys are going to see, and that is going to take us back to the storage system. So I will see you over there, and we will wrap up this lovely update video. Alright, and now that we are back at our lovely, lovely little hub area where we have all of our storage and all of our lovely things, I realized that I completely and entirely forgot to show you the distances that we had been traveling. So we are currently in the center area right here, which is our storage area, and our batteries are right up here along this little mountainside. Our basic copper factory is hanging over this little divot here. Our reinforced iron plates are in this little space. Our rotors are right over here in this area. The space elevator is marked on the map, and the space elevator factory is right here. AI limiters are up in this little corner, and we're getting our copper from up over here, which is a very long distance, like I showed you. Our motors are being made over this ravine, and our basic components are being made here and here. Our modular frames are being made here. We are going to be making 2 more space elevator parts, some right here, which is the automated wiring, and some up in this area, which are going to be the versatile frameworks. Our power plants, on the other hand, are way over through this little jungle over this lake, which is known in the community as the Blue Lake or Blue Crater. The map itself is much larger, extending up into this desert area that we will be using in the late game. But for right now, we are going to be keeping to this biome until we get to oil and stuff, at which point we will be expanding ourselves up to the Gold Coast and up into the dry desert area up in this little corner of the map. With that all covered, this is our lovely little storage area. We've got every single item that we're making on the entire map, with the exception of the space elevator part, because we need them so few and so often that it's better to just keep them in the factory rather than take them all the way back here. We've got our basic components coming through these 3 holes. Some of the rods split off to go into screws, which go around the top over to the one on the far side. We've got all of our advanced iron components coming in here along the floor, and all of our basic copper components coming up along the ceiling. Each one of these has an industrial storage container in the back, and a industrial dispenser out the front, which is a mod, the dispenser mod. This should be where the pipes are, but we are currently out of those, and I'm going to be troubleshooting that here after I stop recording. We have the quick wire and AI limiters right here as well. And we have a whole bunch of other stuff just along the side. The handy thing about our lovely industrial dispenser mod is if we just walk up to it and hit E, it gives us a predisposed amount as set in here. And if we have it set to a fill limit, we can tell it when to stop giving us more in our inventory, which I have for this. So I can top off the stack of 500, and then it won't let me grab any more, which means that I won't overfill my inventory any more than I need to. In addition to that, it gets pretty dark at night, so we've got these lovely little blue lights, which correspond very well to the blue and white paint palette that we have. And just in case we ever want to turn the lights off, boom, we've got a lovely little switch connecting it together. And if we ever want to edit the color, like this is very bright color, a very contrasting color, a very nice, very bright color, because that's not even 100% intensity. Ouch, my eyes. So we're just going to keep the blue. And in addition to that, we have a hypertube that will take us up, over, and in to the currently uncompleted hypertube hub. For the additional storage, once we start branching off into oil tech and other things, we've got this top floor ready and completely empty to be used at a later date. With all of that completed, the last thing I have to show you guys is our little hub setup. And that's it. That's the whole thing. So that has been a short, quote unquote, because the video is actually almost a half-hour long, little rundown of everything we have done in this world so far. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you to anybody who comes out to the streams and enjoys watching us make progress on this world together. It means so much to me that you guys come out. It means so much to me that you guys are here watching this video, and I really do appreciate everything you do for me. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you. I hope you're enjoying Satisfactory, because it's not going to be going away for a while. There's still a lot that we have to do. We're not even halfway through all of the tiers yet, because we haven't done everything in these tiers yet. And there's way more complex stuff to come. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you have enjoyed, because I know I sure have. I hope that all of the little bips and boops and all of that were a lot better than watching me run around. And I will see you guys in the next one. So, see you later.